What is up, guys? Welcome back to First Cut. This is my review of the finale of House of the Dragon. We're here. We made it. We finally got to the finale. A lot of stuff happened this episode. I'm so excited to get into it with you guys, so let's just jump right into it. The title of this episode is titled The Black Council. We finally get to see the council that Rhaenyra has all around her. We see Rhaenyra's coronation as queen. We see her stillbirth, childbirth. We see so much this episode, but I'm glad we got to spend more time with Rhaenyra and Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra, because I feel like this is someone who has been working in a little bit of an uphill battle, in my opinion, when it comes to going up against Millie Alcock, who we already saw as a younger Rhaenyra, because we got so much time with Millie and Millie's version of that character. But I'm glad we got to spend much more time with Emma's version of Rhaenyra, because there's so much spent on Otto and the Greens and Aemon and One Eye and Vhagar that I feel like we kind of forget about who one of the main characters of the show is. And this episode does a really good job of showing you why you should be invested in this character, because she is built different, because she does have a different kind of heart. She will stand up to you and defend herself and defend her family, but at the same time, she doesn't want to just burn down the whole kingdom. And I'm glad we got to see so much of her this episode and why she's worthy of being queen. My favorite scene throughout this entire episode is all about the council. I love hearing about all the council political talk and who's loyal, who's not loyal, which house in which region is going to be a little bit more harder to claim or to get on your side. I love those kind of conversations. We see Corlys come in and add to that. We see the kids talk about it. Instead of sending ravens, they want to send them and send dragons, because it sends a bigger and better message as far as being loyal to Rhaenyra. All those council conversations, which we got a lot of in this entire episode, were amazing, and I absolutely loved them, because we get to see the inner workings of being a queen and trying to get back your kingdoms. That is her uphill battle now as queen, going after Aegon, who is currently sitting on the Iron Throne. So in order to get her on that same Iron Throne, there's a lot of work to do, and they get to get right to it. So I love all those scenes with all the council members, because I felt like it was really well done. Now, obviously, what a lot of people want to talk about is the Vhagar, Arax, Aemon One-Eyed versus Lucerys. And versus is a strong word, because it wasn't really much of a versus. It was more of a destruction. But either way, this is a scene that book readers have been waiting for such a long time. And it definitely lived up to the hype when it comes to the cinematic nature of it, because I feel like that's why book readers love that scene or love that moment, because it's so jarring, but it's also so beautifully written when it comes to lightning, thunder, and fire in the sky, and two dragons battling over Storm's End. Like, it sounds so epic, and we got to see the epicness of it. The only thing I didn't like is seeing Aemon's reaction and seeing how there was a moment of like, oh no, Vhagar's being crazy, he accidentally killed him, oops. Like, I didn't feel like that made any sense to me. Like, what were you expecting? You're chasing after Lucerys, and in the book they spell it out as much more like Aemon is he just has a black heart, is what they say, and he really just doesn't mind killing Lucerys, and he really wanted revenge. And obviously we see that he wanted his eye, but he settles for just taking his whole life, because Vhagar is so big and powerful. He knows he can get whatever he wants when it comes to violence on top of that dragon, because that dragon can take down anything or anyone. So I feel like that's the only thing I didn't like, but everything else was really well done, and I'm glad that we got to see it, because it is a cool spark to get the war cooking, because this is very early on in the book as well when it comes to A Dance of Dragons, but it's also a good moment to show you that this is where the show is headed when it comes to dragon on dragon action. So I'm glad we got to see it this episode. Daemon's moment with Vermithor was actually one of my favorites as well, because it shows you the connection between a Targaryen and a dragon. There's always going to be this bond, and it has to be this combination of patience, of bravery, but also a tiny bit of crazy. And I'm glad that we got to see that in this episode, with Daemon walking up to Vermithor and singing an old Valyrian hymn, trying to make peace with this creature, this beautiful, majestic enormous magical creature, but he's trying to make peace with it and trying to come to terms with it, telling it that I'm safe, I'm here, don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you, but I'm here with you and you can sense that in me. Like, just look in my eye. And he looks in his eye and he sees that there is this kinship, there is this bond between a Targaryen. And I love that that scene communicated so much, and I wanted more of that this season because I feel like Fire and Blood does a good job of describing the connection between a dragon rider and their dragon. It's almost like you're one and the same. You're like part of that creature. And we saw a little bit of that too with Rhaenyra in her childbirth and her struggling and feeling pain. You actually see that Syrax is feeling that pain as well. So I like that we saw a lot of that this episode. I just wish we had more throughout the season because there's so many amazing, beautiful dragons and dragon riders that part of what makes them endearing characters is their connection with their dragon. So I'm glad we got it this episode in the finale, but I wish we had more throughout the season, and I'm sure we'll probably get more in season 2. Either way, this was one of my favorite episodes of the entire season, and that's crazy to say because it's the finale, but I mean it. But this is definitely up there. It might be my favorite off the top of my head because of all the inner workings of the council, because it's Rhaenyra and Daemon, because it's some of my favorite characters with Corlys and Rhaenys. I loved it. I really thought it was a solid way to end the season, and I can't wait for season 2. But let me know down in the comments down below what you guys think of this episode. Make sure you subscribe to First Cut if you haven't done so already. You can follow me at Squad Leader Ace. But either way, guys, for the First Cut crew, I'm going to be peacing out. So peace.